with the deltoid that we are stretching, you want to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. We're then going to go beyond the frontal or coronal plane by going into extension of the humerus. And then with the opposite arm, what we want to do is grab a hold of our
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for medially rotated shoulders. And before I actually get on with the exercises, I want to do a quick recap of what exactly medially rotated shoulders are and what problems can arise if you don't correct it. Your humerus or your upper arm bone, when it becomes medially rotated, that means that it is going to be turning inward and your palms are going to be facing behind you. Ideally, if you were to hold 2 pencils in your hand and those pencils were to extend out, they should never meet. The closer they meet, the more medially rotated you are and the more problems that can arise. Things like shoulder pain, neck pain, mid-back pain, so you would want to address it. And a couple things that we could do to address it. Number one, we would want to strengthen the muscles that are responsible for laterally rotating the shoulders. We already did that a couple days ago. I'm going to include a link right up over here to the top 5 strengthening exercises for medially rotated shoulders video that we uploaded. Do those exercises, and then once you do those, then you could perform some myofascial stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for medially rotating the shoulders. That's what we're going to be doing for you guys today. And without further ado, here are the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for medially rotated shoulders.
The first myofascial stretching exercise for medially rotated shoulders is going to be for the pectoralis major. Specifically, we're going to be targeting the superficial fibers. With regard to this stretch right over here, we're going to be in a prone position, so you're going to be lying down on your stomach. Your arm is going to be at the level of the glenohumeral angle. If you're not sure where that is, depending on your morphology, it's going to be anywhere from 90 to 135 degrees. For the average person, when your arm is fully extended and your palms are at the level of your forehead or slightly higher, that is going to be your glenohumeral angle. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the exercise. So right now, we are in a prone position. We want to maintain anteversion of the pelvis. One way that we could do that is we are going to separate the legs and then we are going to flex the knees to bring us into anteversion. We're going to dorsiflex the ankles and evert the ankles. Next, what we want to do is we are going to abduct our shoulder to the level of the glenohumeral angle. Again, if you don't remember where it is, anywhere between 90 to 135. From this position right over here, we want to pin our shoulder down to the ground. We're going to go into maximum extension of the elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. With the opposite arm, we're going to place the hand underneath our armpit, and then with our head, what we're going to do is we are going to contralaterally rotate, so the side that we're stretching, that same side ear, is going to be pinned to the ground. Then, from that position over here, what we're going to do is use the opposite hand and we're going to push into the ground and roll over onto our shoulder while maintaining the shoulder pinned to the ground. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the pectoralis major. Next, the second myofascial stretching exercise for medially rotated shoulders is going to be for the teres major. For the teres major, this one is also going to be performed in a prone position, meaning you're lying down on your stomach. For this one right over here, we want to maintain straight legs and we're going to go into retroversion of the pelvis. So tuck the pelvis underneath you. We want to bring the humerus to just above 90 degrees and we're going to flex our elbow to 90 degrees as well. We're also going to need a yoga block for this one. If you don't have adequate range of motion, you can also use something like a mat or something a lot thinner than a yoga block. But this is what I have in front of me, so this is what I'm going to be using for the demonstration. Again, prone position, retroversion of pelvis, straight legs, pseudo-inversion, so we're going to dorsiflex, internally rotate, and invert the actual ankles. Next, what we want to do is above 90 degrees at the humerus, flex the elbow to 90 degrees. We're going to place the block underneath our wrist. We're going to go into maximum extension of the wrist. Next, what we want to do is frontalize the scapula. What we're going to do is push our elbow away from our body, and that way we're going to be able to get into frontalization of the scapula. And then lastly, what we want to do is we are going to contralaterally flex our neck. So we're going to flex our neck away from the side that we're stretching, and then we're going to contralaterally rotate our neck, meaning we're going to look away from the side that we're stretching. So we're going to pin our ear down toward the ground. And this right over here is the myofascial stretching exercise for the teres major. Next, the third myofascial stretching exercise for medially rotated shoulders is going to be for the subscapularis muscle. And this one, it's very similar to the stretch that we just did. The only difference is we're not going into frontalization of the scapula, and the level of abduction is going to be slightly different as well. For this one, same setup position. So we're gonna have straight legs, pseudo inversion, retroversion to pelvis. The arm, for this one, anywhere from 90 to 110 degrees is where we wanna place the arm. When we get closer to 90 degrees, we're gonna be targeting more the superficial fibers. When we get closer to 110 degrees, we're gonna be targeting more the inferior fibers. And when our arm is at 90 degrees, we're gonna be targeting more the middle fibers, but everything else is exactly the same. So we have our arm abducted. Right now, I'm gonna bring it to 60 degrees of abduction. I'm gonna flex the elbow to 90 and I'm gonna place this underneath my wrist with the chin. Chin is tucked in, crown of the head is pushing away. I'm gonna contralaterally flex my neck and contralaterally rotate my neck, pinning my ear down to the ground. And then I'm gonna go into maximum extension of the wrist. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the subscapularis, specifically the superior fibers. Then if we want to target the middle fibers, we're going to go to 90 degrees. Everything else is exactly the same. Straight legs, pseudo inversion, retroversion of pelvis, flat spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up. We have 90 degrees at the humerus. We're going to elevate this by placing the block under our wrist, maximum extension of the wrist, contralateral rotation, contralateral flexion, pin the ear down to the ground, and this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the subscapularis, specifically the middle fibers. And then to target the inferior fibers, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to elevate the humerus. By going into 110 degrees of abduction. So right now, straight legs, retroversion of pelvis, flat spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head away, eyes looking down between my thighs to put the dura mater under tension, arm at 110 degrees, elbow at 90 degrees, place the yoga block under the wrist, maximum extension of wrist. We are going to contralaterally side bend and contralaterally rotate the cervical spine by placing the ear down to the ground. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the subscapularis, specifically the inferior fibers. Next, the fourth myofascial stretching exercise for medially rotated shoulders is going to be for the anterior deltoid. For the anterior deltoid, what we want to do for this one is get into a tall kneeling position. So you're going to get nice and tall on your knees, and then with the deltoid that we are stretching, you want to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. We're then going to go beyond the frontal or coronal plane by going into extension of the humerus, and then with the opposite arm, what we want to do is grab a hold of our wrist, and we are going to pull our arm into adduction. So adduction by bringing it close toward the midline. At the chin, what we want to do is keep the chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension, and we want to do some contralateral side bending and contralateral rotation of the cervical spine. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the anterior deltoid. Next, the fifth and final myofascial stretching exercise for medially rotated shoulders is going to be for the latissimus dorsi muscle. For the latissimus dorsi, there's going to be 3 different positions that I'm going to be taking you through. For all of them, in terms of the base, our base is going to be the same. We're going to be in a half kneeling position. Half kneeling, so it's like you're in the bottom position of a lunge. The knee that's on the floor is the lat that we're going to be stretching. The foot that's on the floor is the opposite side. So for this one right over here, a few different things worth noting. The hand position is going to be a little bit different for each of them, but what's the same is we're in a lunge position, so a half kneeling position. We got retroversion of the pelvis, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down on the floor to put the dura mater under tension, and we have a lateral translation to the outside. So we're going to do a contralateral side bend with the thoracic spine. Then from this position right over here, if we want to do just the general myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle, with the opposite arm, extend the elbow and wrist, we're going to place it inside of our thigh, and then with the working hand, what we're going to do is flex the shoulder to just above 90 degrees, going to maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation, and we are going to push forward with our arms. So again, we're in a half kneeling position, retroversion of pelvis, tall spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. Opposite arm is straight and up against the thigh. The working arm just above 90 degrees, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation, project forward with the palm, and we're going to do some contralateral side bending of the thoracic spine. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle. Next, if we want to target more of the distal fibers, what we can do is go in a downward and adducted direction, so we're pressing on a downward diagonal. The other difference is we're going to rest our hand on our thigh. So right now our hand is resting on our thigh, half kneeling position, retroversion of pelvis, tall spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension, contralateral side bend of the spine, chin is tucked in, hand is resting on the thigh. We're gonna go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. We're gonna go below 90 degrees and adduct, and we're gonna press on a downward diagonal. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle, specifically the distal fibers. And then lastly, if we want to target the proximal fibers, same setup position. We're in a half kneeling position. We're in retroversion of the pelvis, flat spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. We're going to do a lateral translation, so contralateral side bend of the thoracic spine. With the actual hand, we're going to bring it in line with the coronal plane. So it's going to be your bicep in line with your ear. You're going to flex your elbow, and then with the opposite arm, you're going to reach ahead, around from behind, and then you are going to pull across. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi, specifically the superficial fibers.
And there you have it. Those were the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for medially rotated shoulders. If you have medially rotated shoulders, or if you have shoulder pain, neck pain, or mid-back pain, go ahead and give those exercises a try. What you want to do is 3 sets of 30 seconds for every single one of those different exercises. And in terms of the frequency, you could do them every single day. Whenever we are trying to elicit a postural change, you can never overdo the amount of work that you are doing, because the main thing when trying to elicit a postural change is accumulating enough time under tension. So if you do these exercises only once a week or once a month, you're not going to see the true benefit. So every single day, you can go ahead, do the strengthening exercises, then do the myofascial stretches, and then in 2 days, on Monday at 2 o'clock p.m., I am going to be demonstrating the top 5 ELDOA exercises for medially rotated shoulders. So be out on the lookout for that. But go ahead, drop your comments down in the comment section. I would love to hear, did you guys try the exercises? If you have, do you find that they're helping? And that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.